All right. So in terms of rankings for Alabama, let's talk about where things stand right now. Alabama has the number 4 recruiting class in the country, 23 commitments. There's 7 guys in Alabama's recruiting class right now that are in the Rivals 100. Now, do I see any of those guys falling out? No, not really. But I do see some of those guys moving up in the rankings. 2 that I think are pretty clear, especially one that's pretty clear is Bryce Young. Bryce Young, like he's either number 50 or somewhere like that in Rivals right now, which obviously that's not a great ranking according to everyone, because a lot of people think, oh, he's a 5-star. Well, there's no doubt about it. And, a lot of that was proven this football season. So keep in mind, rankings haven't been updated since August. So this ranking update is going to be pretty big, pretty significant. Bryce Young had an unbelievable senior season. Definitely has lived up and exceeded all expectations. So Rivals put out a story today, and it was a kind of a roundtable with their national recruiting analysts, regional guys, asking who each one thought should be the number 1 player in the country. Now there were 2 of those guys, including Adam Gordon, who's the West Coast analyst. Who all these 2 guys said Bryce Young, number 1 player in the country. So if you don't think Bryce Young's going to end up being a 5-star, then you're crazy. And I think, with Adam Gordon saying that, I think that should speak volumes, because he is the West Coast guy. The number 1 player in the country right now is DJ Ugalele, who's the number 1 quarterback, number 1 overall player in the Rivals 100 right now. Adam Gordon, West Coast analyst, lives in California. So in his opinion, he thinks Bryce Young is the best player in the country. Now, will it set up that way when the rankings come out? We don't know yet. There's going to be some heated debate when those guys meet and talk and try to figure out, who's 1 through 500. There's definitely, I think there's definitely an argument for Bryce Young to be number 1. But regardless, I think he's going to be a 5-star. I think he's going to be in the top 10. So that's definitely something that Alabama fans should be excited about. Another guy I think is going to move up is DEMOUY Kennedy. He's one of the top overall linebackers in the country. He's an inside linebacker from Theodore High School. Reminds a lot of people of a former Theodore High School star, C.J. Mosley. Kind of very similar in terms of size, speed, quickness, ability to read plays. I mean, he's just an excellent football player. He's currently rated as the number 2 player in the state of Alabama, behind Quandarius Robinson. I have a feeling DEMOUY Kennedy is going to move up to number 1. I think he's just an excellent football player. I think he's a 5-star caliber kid, and I think there's a good chance we could see him move all the way up to 5 stars. So keep an eye out on DEMOUY Kennedy as well. Now, there's 2 guys in Alabama's class that I don't really have any rankings control over. And I'm not saying I have control. I have an input, but it's hard to make input for guys that are outside the state of Alabama, because I don't see these guys. Some of these other recruiting analysts do, but from watching film and just evaluating these guys, from that regard, 2 guys that I think are 5-star caliber kids, without a doubt. And one is Timothy Smith, the big defensive lineman from Sebastian River High School in Florida. Big kid. I mean, he's 6'4", 6'5", over 300, I think 320 pounds. And it's hard to imagine a kid moving as well as he does at that size. I mean, just a very dominant, quick kid. Kind of reminds me of Ashawn Robinson coming out of high school. I mean, just incredible quickness, strength, power, size. I mean, he is just a dominant force on the defensive front. I mean, just watching him play, watching his highlights. I mean, I don't know if I've seen a better high school defensive lineman in terms of an interior guy who's 320 pounds plus, move that well. I mean, he's just incredible. So we'll see how highly he gets ranked. Maybe he doesn't get to the 5-star status, but could end up going up, and maybe he gets that 5th star after an All-Star game in January. And then the 4th guy I wanted to mention, or the other guy that I was going to mention, is who I think could easily be a 5-star, is Drew Sanders. Incredible athlete. 6'4", 6'5", about 220 pounds. And runs extremely well, sideline to sideline type guy, plays on both sides of the ball. Very dominant high school football player at a top high school football program in the state of Texas. Another guy that could easily wait. They could easily wait and say, all right, we're going to wait and see him at one of these All-Star games, and then determine if he's a 5-star. So I think those are two guys who could easily end up being 5-stars. Maybe in December, but maybe not until January. So those are, like I said, those are a couple guys that could easily move to 5-stars. Now, there are some guys outside the top 100 that I could see easily moving in. One guy for sure I think is going to move in, Chad Simmons, Southeast recruiting analyst for Rivals, posted the other day that he's really going to make a strong push for this guy to be in the Rivals 100 is Brian Branch, big-time defensive back from Sandy Creek High School in Georgia, had an unbelievable senior season. I think every single week we saw a ridiculous one-handed catch, whether it was an interception or a touchdown pass. I mean, he just had a tremendous senior season. So he's one that we probably expect moving to the Rivals 100 when the rankings are updated. A couple other guys that we could potentially say maybe not. It's hard to predict. Thal Jones Bell, who's just outside the Rivals 100. Roydell Williams. He had a great senior season, even though he was hurt a little bit. Every time he was on the field, made a big impact. And then William Anderson, the 4-star defensive end, pass rusher from Georgia. Those are some guys that I could easily see in the top 100. But if they're left out, maybe just on the outside, I wouldn't be surprised with that either. Any other 4-stars that could potentially move up? Not necessarily into the Rivals 100, just up overall. I'm looking at Trayshawn Holden, who is not in the Rivals 250. Tremendous senior season. I think he's definitely one of the top wide receivers in the country. I think Alabama's wide receiver class is excellent with Javon Baker, Thal Jones Bell, and Trayshawn Holden. I would certainly look at Trayshawn Holden as potentially moving up into the Rivals 250. Kyle Edwards, another kid who's having a unbelievable senior season. Kyle Edwards is one of those kids who took over for John Emery, who signed with LSU last year. He was the number 2 back behind John Emery at Destrehan High School, and certainly picking up where Emery left off. So I think actually he's outside the top 250, so we can see him moving up as well. And then another in-state kid that I really like a lot that's who had a great senior season, who's still playing, is KRISTIAN Story. And he does it on both sides of the football. Just a dominant athlete at Lynette High School. Definitely a kid that I'm very high on. And I don't know if the national regional guys get a chance to see him, really that much, but just from watching his film and seeing, how he performs each week, I mean, he's just been having a dominant season, and, good to see him move up. So are there any 3-stars that could move up? Alabama doesn't really have a lot of 3-star commitments, but, 2 guys that I like a lot, Jamarian Latham, in-state defensive lineman from Pickens County, who's coached by former Alabama player Michael Williams, who's a tight end at Alabama, was in Nick Saban's first number 1 recruiting class, that 2008 class. He plays on both sides of the ball, offensive line, defensive line. The competition may not be good, but if you're putting kids in the dirt, 15 times a game, I mean, that's, I don't care what your competitions are like. I mean, he's just out there, killing people. And we've seen plenty of top kids from lower level schools. OJ Howard played in an AISA school. There's tons of players out there, every single year that, they just don't get a lot of love because, their competition may not be as great as, maybe somebody that plays at a 5 or a 6A school. But yeah, I mean, that's kind of an overall look at, where the rankings are right now, kind of what I'm, predicting or thinking will happen. We won't know until December, but those are just some of the kids that I think that have a good chance to move up, have had a great senior season, and we'll see how the final rankings turn out. That's it, guys. Thank you so much for joining today. If you have any other questions, jump on BamaInsider.com. That's where I'm at every single day. You don't just have me once a week on here. You got me every single day on BamaInsider.com. So come over there, sign up for a subscription, join our family, join our community. Love to have you. Thanks for joining this week's chat session. Really enjoyed it, guys. And we will talk to you next time. All right. See ya.